Welcome, everyone, to today's podcast episode. You're listening to the Home Design Podcast. My name is Adam Case, your host, and we aim to educate, inspire, and connect South Florida with the industry authorities within their trade. Today, we're going to be diving into what goes into manufacturing the perfect window and everything that you should know about selecting windows and doors for your South Florida home. All with Justin Vanbever of Condado Window.
Thank you for having me, Adam.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to have you in here. I mean, we've been doing business together and I've known you for just over a year now, but you are not new to the window industry. But before we dive into all that good stuff, I want to ask you the most challenging question of the day. Who is Justin Vanbever?
Justin Vanbever. Well, that's pretty easy. We'll start off with father, husband, and window and door enthusiast.
There you go. I like it. I like it. So let's start with husband, father, how many kids you have.
Two kids. We got 12-year-old boy and a 6-year-old girl.
And let's dive into, so where are you originally from?
San Juan, Puerto Rico.
All right. Is your wife from San Juan, Puerto Rico as well?
Yep.
All right. There you go. So you are from San Juan. Obviously you've been in the business for a long time. The
Since
family
I was
has.
born.
So, I mean, let's talk about that. How did the business start? Where did it start? How many years have we been in business here? So,
So the business started around 1979, 1980. My grandfather used to rent beach chairs behind a hotel in Puerto Rico. And the place that sold the parts to repair the beach chairs also sold parts to repair windows and doors. So one afternoon, my dad was going to the store to pick up some parts to fix the chairs. And my grandfather said, while you're there, grab me a window operator to fix a window in their apartment. He came back that afternoon, got into the house, fixed the window. That same afternoon or evening, a neighbor came by and they were just talking and they're like, oh yeah, we just fixed the window. And they're like, oh my gosh, who did that? Oh, my son, Bob. And they're like, oh, can you come and fix mine? Now, my grandfather was pretty quick at, catching these little hints. And he's like, well, I think we should, we have something here. So I would say about a week later, they pulled out an ad in the paper. And they found the logo. The company's called Condado Window Doctor.
okay.
And then from there it started. One window, 2 windows, little more, one house, one apartment. And over time, business started growing. We used to do, I would say, 99% all just repair work. So we'd come in, change operators, glass, anything really that you could do to a window or door. Now, learning what all these products did or didn't do is where we start then coming into the play of, okay, now we know what we're doing repairing windows, now we can install windows. So we start installing windows, then we start bringing windows in, knock down, no glass, from the U.S., start assembling them in Puerto Rico, installing them. Around that time, we're looking at about 1988, 89. So about 8 years have gone since the business started, to fixing, to installing. Now we get a hurricane coming through, which is the first hurricane that the company went through, basically, which was Hurricane Hugo.
Okay.
All right. And almost every window, or I would say every window that we installed, that we brought in from the States, passed the hurricane. The insurance companies come up to us and they're like, hey, who installed all these windows? These windows didn't have any problems, leakage, impact, da-da-da-da. So the insurance company started saying, if you want windows, this is a company you got to call. So little by little, started changing more windows. We get into the manufacturing now. So little by little, we learned everything we didn't know prior because we were new in the industry, to then repairing all these windows. So now we have all the knowledge of what's wrong. Where do they break the easiest? Where do you see most failure on seals? What components work and what don't. So now we're adding all this knowledge of fixing these into now designing what we start into the manufacturing world, which, as other people have gone into, it's not an easy task to take on because there's a lot of different things you got to take care of.
Right.
All right. So we start doing, I think it was the first thing we started manufacturing was sliding doors. First windows. From there, we start adding on our double hung tilt. So the window that is our biggest seller today, we started manufacturing 30 years ago.
Wow.
About 30 years ago. And then over the years, we've, made little tweaks here and there to make sure that we get the best water seal, to make sure that we can get the right glass in there. And then from that window, we just started adding till where we are today. We have over, I think it's like 14 NOAs. So we have a huge variety of products that we've tested in our labs in Florida, made sure that all our engineering checks out. But above all this, we've gone through the best, or not the best, but the most precise testing you could ever do, which is hurricanes.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It's incredible because the way that you guys started, it started because you had a problem. You realized a lot of other people had the same or similar problem. And you literally reverse engineered the whole process because you the way you learned about the industry was literally fixing the problems that every other window had.
Yep.
And being able to see it from that perspective, I feel like that's a rarity in the industry where, companies, they start as manufacturers and they start going into it. But for you guys, you literally learned it because you were solving a problem. And all of your manufacturing, your engineering, we're going to be getting into it. You have patents, you going through all of these testing. We're going to be talking about NOAs and what NOA really is. But that is like the perfect way to be able to start any business because you're solving something that is a real problem. And then getting justified. I didn't know this part of the story. Justified by the insurance companies where, hey, these guys they are the installers. Their work, stands to a hurricane. They're bringing in the right product. They're doing everything right, which I'm sure prior to people were, installing a window, they install a window.
Oh, we've seen windows in Puerto Rico where they actually so the window was short, either width or height, and they'd backfill with newspapers.
Oh, geez.
We found so many different time capsules, and they're cool because see really old newspapers just stuffed back there, trying to fill in holes and people caulking around them.
Yeah. Good insulation there.
I don't know about that too much, but hey, it worked for them at that time. But
right.
But yeah, you see all these different things over the years when you're
right.
digging into people's houses.
And so talking about all these different things and talking about Condado. So you guys started in Puerto Rico.
Yep.
Now, so you just recently expanded to the U.S. market.
So Florida.
Or the Florida market, I should say.
Florida market has actually only been about a year.
Yeah. So you are new because prior to, in Puerto Rico, we're going to tie that into obviously the Caribbean and, all of the islands and everything there where you guys have been doing business for a long time. You have your name, your brand. You're in some of the most incredible homes across all the islands.
No, so we started exporting, I would say, about 20 years ago.
Okay.
And we started with one island, which was St. Thomas. And then from there, we just started moving island to island. And it's been, very little marketing or publicity. It's all been referral business.
Right.
Most of our business down in the islands has been referral business. So we've done, small houses in the Caribbean to mega mansions. And we basically cover almost, I would say, every window design that you could probably think of for a house.
Right.
We've been able to cover for these clients that we have, because people build these houses to live in, to enjoy them, and to make sure that them and their loved ones are safe.
Right.
That's like the biggest thing here. And coming through these islands, we get really bad hurricanes down there. Same thing we have in South Florida, we have in the Caribbean.
But I feel like more of them, and there's not as much that's really preventing it or stopping it. Like you guys are, you're getting hit first, when you're looking at the islands.
And Puerto Rico, for example,
yeah.
We're 100 miles by 35 miles.
Right.
So these hurricanes sometimes are wider than the island.
Yeah, no, seriously. And you're just in the heart of it. There's no avoiding it. You have to have strong products. And a lot of the people that you're also installing windows for, this is their second home, third home, however many homes, their vacation homes, and they need to make sure that it is protected, that they're not going to have problems. So working with the best, working with the manufacturing that is going to withstand a hurricane or different types of storms.
No, who doesn't like working in the Caribbean?
Right. No, exactly. Without a doubt. So, coming to Florida, expanding here, stepping outside your comfort zone, it's different here.
Oh, it's the same business. So we literally took the same products we manufacture in Puerto Rico, didn't change a thing, and had them tested. And we noticed that it's the exact same product, right?
Right.
So we passed our test. Everything looks great. Sell the first job here. Now we come into the reality of things. It's very different.
Right.
You need more paperwork. You need all these stickers that you see on everyone's windows. So all that information is there for the full process, the inspection process, everything needed to make sure that what the client ordered, what you produced, and what the inspector wants to see all line up. Because you can take anyone's product and just throw it there. Yeah, but what is it?
Right.
How is it made? Did it comply? Did you use the right screws? Did you do all these things? So there was a really big learning curve there. And it was like, oh my gosh, we got to get on it. We got to move. The stickers.
Yeah.
The stickers, that was like one of the biggest things because in Puerto Rico, they don't require any of this.
And for people who are listening to this, I know what you're talking about for stickers. What are these stickers that you had to now all of a sudden, as silly as it sounds, this sticker means a lot.
So it does mean a lot. I mean, so the sticker is where your inspector is going to go look and you're going to find it inside a window jamb somewhere, where it's not going to be just boom, stuck here in your face.
Right. It's hidden.
It's hidden. But that way, when the inspector goes, he knows that he's got to look for a few things. All right. So he's going to see how many screws you installed. Because on your paperwork, when you do your testing, it'll give you a diagram of how your screw layout has to go, the space in between it, the type of screw you have to use, the amount of silicone, caulking, backer rods if you need it, if you have equal or unequal legs on a window. I mean, there's a whole different thing that you really don't look for when you're installing. Most homeowners don't know what the difference is, but these guys know.
Yeah.
They're professionals. You see these inspectors, they know their job, and they're very good at this. And coming from an unregulated market, which was basically like, the honor code, what's wrong and what's right, right and wrong. So you have to act upon doing the right thing always. Here, there's someone looking at it. There's someone making sure that you said and you did what you had to do.
Right. That whole permit process and the inspector process is meant to protect the homeowner because it's what keeps the industry honest.
Homeowners, the insurance companies, the government, even the manufacturer, the installer, it makes sure that everyone checked all the little boxes, made sure that they did the right thing, they installed it as per design, and that everything else follows, Because when you're inside a house and you got 200-mile-an-hour winds outside, you got your family in there, you got your pets, you got your things, everything that you have is there. You want to make sure that there is safe.
Right.
You don't want to all of a sudden see, I have everything, and then start losing your roofs, start losing windows. There's these moments. And I've lived through hurricanes in Puerto Rico. And over there, our houses are all poured concrete roofs. And when that wind starts coming by at 200 miles an hour,
oh yeah, and
you hear that big noise that these storms make, you see, obviously a lab, you can simulate pretty good. But when you really see how this product is acting with your pressures, because you got negative pressures, positive pressures pushing through, you got water, you got debris coming at it, you really see how your product performs, and that's where all these tests and all these designs come into play to make sure that you have what you need to keep yourself safe.
Without a doubt. And talking about that and talking about, what people should really know about windows, indoors for that matter, and what goes into it, because all of the components. Let's just hit on the different components that goes into the manufactured window. I mean, there's rollers, there's different mechanisms, there's different locks and hinges, everything that goes into it. And I mean, I don't know all of the different terms, but let's touch on all of these components that goes into a quality window.
Okay, so when you're looking at a window as a homeowner, typical thing you should do, at least I do, I knock on it. If you take a piece of aluminum that's thin and one that's thick and you knock on both of them, there's a complete different sound to it. So you know that the deeper the sound, the thicker the aluminum is. That's going to come into play when you have deflection. So you have your building envelope, obviously, you have your window or door. The size or gauge of the aluminum is going to determine the resistance of it, how thick your profiles are. In most cases, it's depth, not the visual aspect, but how deep it is.
Okay.
That'll actually affect the most, so you have big doors or sliding doors and stuff like this, and you see them that they have like this big bulges on them. All right. That's going to help on your design pressures. All right. Okay. That'll give you higher design pressure. So what are you going to look for? You're going to make sure that you got a nice aluminum profile or PVC. I mean, there is UPVC products in the market that do comply with hurricane codes. All of our products are aluminum. We get higher pressures. They last longer, especially in the Caribbean, with the sun beating on all that stuff.
Right.
You have your rollers. One thing that no one really sees or ever touches is a roller. Just stuck under there.
And let's talk, the roller is what allows it to go back and forth, right? Yep.
And each roller or design or even composition, so you have rollers that are all stainless steel with a stainless steel wheel, stainless steel precision ball bearing, all this stuff. And it's supposed to make your door nice and smooth, right? Problem is if you live in a really salty area, and you have a stainless steel wheel with an aluminum track, it's your vacation home.
Right.
You leave it sitting there for a few months, year, and it's not moving. You have galvanic corrosion.
Yeah.
All right. So it'll start eating, and you'll see it once you move the door. Afterwards, it turns into like a speed bump.
Gotcha.
Some companies have come out with different ways to, go around it. If they're going to use stainless steel wheel, they'll usually use a stainless steel cap where the wheel's going to run. We found an amazing company. We've been doing business with them for a long time. Become very good friends with them. They're from Australia. And we ordered a first wheel set because I couldn't understand that a stainless steel casing with a plastic wheel could hold the weight that it did.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, how is it that this wheel, that stainless steel, holds less weight than this one that's plastic?
That's incredible.
So we ordered the first one, put it on the door. I'm like, yeah, these guys say that they can hold this much weight. Let's try this stuff out. So throw it in there, boom, get our doors ready, start. Wow, this is smooth. No noise. Less resistance, less friction. So these components affect how the door operates.
Right.
Now, that's one side of everything, but then you got to look at the other side. How do I keep the water out?
Right.
How do I make sure it locks right? So then you come into the hardware. You come into your rubber gaskets. There's a million different types of rubber. I didn't know there were that many.
Yeah. Hey, in every single type of rubber, for every type of product, even talking about the aluminum, it's all different qualities.
And it all reacts differently depending on your climate.
Right.
Temperature exchanges. South Florida, Caribbean, we have 100-degree outside, 70-degree AC running inside.
Right.
You have this constant fight. So you have to make sure that your rubber is going to do the seal to make sure that you don't have water problems. You don't have any loss of your air conditioning because, you run your AC all day at blast, freeze, and then you have the wrong seals around your door. And you're going to start losing your AC.
Right. Yeah.
It's going to add up.
Absolutely.
Your locks. People overlook that and they're like, yeah, we have a lock, whatever lock brand you want to find. They're not all the same.
Right.
Same way you're going to have different models of cars. You know, people when they spec out their cars are like, I like those rims, I like
Right.
this wheel, I like that. So you got to look at your windows and doors basically in a similar way.
Okay.
Because each and every component you add or take off will affect how it performs, either for security, for impact, and cases where you really want to make sure you're safe. Even down to how they look. You know, we have locks now that you put your thumb on,
Right.
unlock your door.
Oh yeah.
We have shutter systems that are integrated into our windows.
And this is something that is unique to you guys. I mean, you guys have a patented product that the way that you've built it is really impressive.
So that was a trip that my dad took to Europe.
Okay.
And he started seeing how at night or during the day, everyone would just like lock themselves into the house. And we start looking at it like, well, why do they do this? So you start learning, okay, so for the sun,
Right.
you can get low E glass, right? Low emission glass. You can get insulated glass, but the sun's still beating on everything. You still get the radiation, all that stuff. So you add a shutter, boom, you lock the sun out. You create an air gap between both pieces. So you got aluminum, your airspace, plus your window behind it.
Right.
Start reducing temperature. But then all of a sudden it's like, wow, this is a really good blackout.
Right. No kidding.
So, hey, I want to watch the game. Hit a
Right.
button. Comes down.
Just like shades.
Just like shades.
Yeah.
Just like a shade. You go on vacation. Security. Hit a button.
Right.
You go to sleep. You don't want any light. Hit a button. You know,
You gotta
want
make a song out of this. Hit a button. Hit a button.
Yeah, we can try that.
No, sir. No, I mean it's incredible, but it's a great point because the thing is, a lot of people look at the shutter systems as a dated component, where you guys have really integrated it and made it something that is high technology, being able to automate it with systems and integrations and everything within a home, and just the aesthetic of what you guys have accomplished is what make
We took a dated design and integrated it into the window so that you don't see it on the outside or the inside.
Right.
It doesn't stick out, doesn't stick in. It sits right on top of your window. All the access is from the inside. So if you ever have to repair it, you're on the first floor or the 30th floor of a building.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. All your access is on the inside. Our windows, same thing. We design them so that you can clean them.
Right.
Because that's like one of the biggest things is, how do I clean a window?
Yeah.
Okay, I live on the first floor. Okay, you can walk around your house. Now add bushes to this. Now you got to climb over your bushes and try to get into all this stuff. Then you come into your second floor of the house. Okay, maybe a ladder. What about your buildings?
Yeah.
Now, you have buildings that have these beautiful glass facades. They're great. They look beautiful. You're going to have to pay someone forever to take care of it, because none of us, there's no Superman, Spider-Man. You're not getting out there for these type of things. So you have these, companies that have, I would have to say, they got a pair, because I wouldn't hang off the side of a 30-story building.
And we see it on some of these huge buildings here in South Florida. I mean, that you have to clean them and on a regular basis.
Well, it's like your car.
Yeah.
Like anything, take your car, park it in front of the ocean, sit it there, just leave it there.
Right.
Don't do anything to it. Leave it there for a year. Try to go start it up again.
Right.
Salt's going to eat at it. Your paint's going to look horrible. Your glass is going to look horrible. It's beautiful to live near the ocean, but when you got a mix of sand, salt spray, and the wind blowing at it, it's just a sandblast that you're giving to your whole thing. Plus, you need to get the salt off for corrosion purposes as well.
Right.
Aluminum is not as corrosive, but over time it will.
Right.
Standard for our industry. So when you're looking at structural aluminum and aluminum that will comply, is just what we use to make our shutters and our windows. It's 6000 series, so it's 6063 aluminum.
Okay.
Which is basically the composition of the metals that go into it to make the profile, all right, to make sure that your profile complies with what the building standards are.
Right.
So that's typically not a question you're going to ask.
No, absolutely. But the thing is,
you're a
it's
sales guy, but
yeah.
The right aluminum with the right hardware will go a long way.
Right.
and the right product properly installed will go a long way. The right product with the wrong installation, no can do.
That's where things go. Yeah.
And the wrong product with the right installation, you know.
Right.
I've seen they look like paper thin.
Right.
Aluminum. You can feel it. Because when you're installing,
it like barely complies with what standards
you can
are.
Scratch it and you can probably still see the name of the can behind it from the beer can that they
That's crazy.
made it out of.
Yeah.
And you know, everything adds up.
Right.
You know, it's the right components with the right assembly, with the right glass, with the right installation, and that'll get you the right product. And there's more than one product here. You know, you have products that will fit almost every budget.
Right.
You have products that will will get to the minimum of code, and you have products that will surpass it by 50, 60, maybe even 100 PSF.
Right.
So there's a little bit of everything for everyone. I would say that, you know, the best thing that people can do when they're looking into windows and doors is do your due diligence.
Right.
You know, make sure that they're using the right hardware, the right product, that the product that you are buying in a lot of cases complies with your HOAs.
Right. Oh, without a doubt.
Because we've seen that time and time again. They're like, well, whose fault is it? Yours or mine? I'm like, I don't live here. You do. You have to get permissions from your HOAs.
Right.
You have to make sure that what you're buying also, you know, fits the structure.
What they require. Yeah.
Fits everything else. Yeah.
So when looking at all this, because, you know, you mentioned, you know, there's all the different mechanisms and when going through testing to ultimately get that NOA, let's first start with the types of glass, because when people are getting quoted on windows, there's all different thicknesses and things like that. What should people look at? Because yes, like they're going to look at it and there's going to be a price difference between one thickness to the other, and then there's, you know, the higher level, but what should people like, how do they value the thickness of the glass and what should be installed?
So that is zone dependent.
Okay.
So there is zone maps that'll tell you what type of pressure you have to comply with.
Okay.
All right. So if you are on the ocean, zone 5, right there, you have to make sure you have a few different things.
Okay.
All right. There's the turtle code. So you have to make sure that your glass doesn't reflect lighting, or the lighting inside does not confuse the turtles to think that it's the moonlight and they go towards the buildings.
Right.
So that's one thing you got to watch out for. The other thing, from the first level to the third level, has to be large missile impact. Okay, so there's different ratings.
Okay.
So you got your small missile impact and your large missile impact. Difference is the size of the projectile and the speed that it's thrown at it, and the pressures usually regulate the same.
Okay.
So pressure is one thing, impact is the other. So a window can have very good pressure.
Right.
So water, air, infiltration, all that stuff, but not comply with large missile impact.
Right.
Because the glass isn't thick enough or the composition isn't the right one. Because you can go a million different ways with glass. And you can go from glass that's $14, $15 a square foot to give it a price, all the way up to $70, $80 a square foot.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a big difference.
All of this adds up.
Right.
So you have your low E's. So low E's come in a million different ways. You have soft coatings, hard coatings. Which one's right? That all depends on where you live.
Right.
How thick your glass is. Where do you live? The interlayer between both pieces of glass. You have PVBs, you have SGPs. You have all these different compositions when you're laminating glass. Does your glass have to be heat strengthened or tempered?
Right.
That all depends on the pressures that you're trying to reach and the size of the product you're trying to install in the zone you're trying to get it to pass.
Because I mean, and with that, you're relying on the professional. You know, you're relying on their knowledge, their experience, and that's what goes into, like, you know, buying from a manufacturer obviously it has to be tested, especially here in South Florida. You can't even install glass windows unless it has passed the NOA tests. And we've been talking about NOA. Just to touch on it quickly, what does NOA mean? What's the actual definition of it?
Notice of acceptance.
Okay. And that's when you're sending your windows, your doors, your sliders, all of your systems to a lab, and they are going to put it through the most rigorous of, testing.
I mean, it's fun
to try to replicate it. It's got to be fun. I would love to actually come and see it one time. When you're testing again, I think I'm going to come with you.
It's like a huge potato cannon that shoots out 2x4s.
Geez, that's incredible. and that's what, determines the strength of the window. And when you're going through these tests, where are like the I guess the areas of a window that are first to fail?
Okay.
Typically.
So on the impact test, they're going to test on a few things. All right. So they're going to hit the center.
Yep.
If it's just fixed glass, they're going to try to break the center. All right. Then they're going to go into a corner because they want to see if your glass is going to deglaze from your corners. All right. And then depending on the size and all that stuff, they'll make you hit it in a different area.
Okay.
Now, if you have two together, one next to another, they're going to want to hit where they attach. Okay, so they're going to see how strong your mullion is.
Things got good aim.
It's got a little laser on the front of it. So the engineer will, depending on what type of testing you're going and how far you want to go with it, because you can go, all over the place.
Right.
They have, ranging from impact to ADA compliance. There's a whole bunch of different things that they do while they're testing for impact.
Right.
So you have an operable window. You're going to hit it. You have a double hung window. You're going to try to break the middle.
Okay.
You want to see if it'll collapse. Or a single hung window, same thing. Your horizontal or your vertical divisions are going to hit that. They're going to hit the glass. But then after that, they're going to cycle it for 5 hours on positive and negative pressures.
Okay.
So they put it in this big, gigantic shop vac.
Right.
That sits behind the wall. They take their openings and they take your window and door and they bring it up to the wall. And then from there, they turn on the vacuum.
Wow.
And you see the window come in and out, in and out, in and out. The door, same thing. So they're testing deflection. They're making sure that there's no tear in your PVB,
right,
or your SGP interlayers. All right. The second you have a tear over, I think it's about 2 inches, failed.
Gotcha.
All right. So you have to be able to last the 5 hours after impact in the test with no failure for them to pass the window, because they have to make sure that if a hurricane's coming through and your glass did get hit
right,
and compromised, that storm's not going to come into your house.
Right. Because that's when, obviously if it comes in your house, wind gets in your house, your roof ends up, that's when everything starts to fail.
And the biggest thing that the insurance companies are looking out for is water.
Right.
A product that doesn't keep the water out is horrible for them.
Right.
Because everything here is drywall.
Right.
So the second that you get water in there and it starts absorbing it, they're out.
Right.
Because then you get mold, you get all these other problems behind it.
Right.
So the insurance companies and homeowners, because obviously insurance it's a business, they want to make sure that their risk is managed. Right. So they're going to make sure that your testing is done properly. Right? They're going to make sure that your installation is done properly. Same thing with the building inspectors.
Right.
We're at the end, the main goal for these tests and hitting them with these missiles and all that other fun stuff is to make sure that you, the homeowner or property owner, because if it's a commercial, same thing,
right,
you're safe.
Exactly. No, it's so important because all of these little things, when you guys have gone through the construction process, the engineering, the design, the functionality, it's not just a fixed window and you have to make sure the seal and the frame and everything is good. But when you have windows that open in all different directions, the mechanism has to be so strong, made out of the right material, truly locking when it's locked, when it's shut, to be able to be as strong or stronger as a fixed window that is more or less a frame.
So in Puerto Rico, when we went through Maria, it was a big building complex.
Right.
And they had a tested window, different manufacturer, supplier. And that manufacturer used a hardware from a company that had a problem with it. And was that while the window was vibrating, a lock would come open.
Oh, wow.
So during the hurricane, it ripped the window right off of its hinges. Just suck it right out.
Wow.
They had to eventually design a clip that went in it so that it actually, you had to click this lever to let it go so that that wouldn't happen in a scenario like that.
Wow.
So the right hardware will affect, because in the lab, it didn't fail.
Right.
But it wasn't the same scenario as the real thing.
Yeah, because the real thing is not forgiving. I mean, they're trying to replicate it as much as possible in this controlled environment.
And there you go. It is a controlled environment.
Right.
The hurricane isn't stopping to say, oh, let me change my angle of approach. Yeah. It's just coming through.
It's doing things that, no one can predict.
That, and the other thing is that when you do these tests inside a lab, you don't have other buildings creating different pressures and pushing the wind one way, pushing the wind the other way. So each area performs differently. Your house will be, so let's say you live in a row house, right?
Right.
So everyone has similar models around. So you got your 1 levels, your 2 levels. Your 1 level and your 2 level on street A can react completely different than your same thing on, 5-6 streets down.
Right.
So making sure that you pass is one thing. Making sure you pass above what's minimum requirement. Now that's when you really say, okay, why is your product 65 PSF?
Right.
Which is minimum code. But his is 115 PSF and it's the same price. Well, let me grab the better product at the same price and make sure that one of these scenarios happen and your controlled environment is no longer controlled.
Right.
You know that you're going to be able to withstand this. You know that the product that you bought to keep your family safe will work.
Right.
It's not the same, okay, yay, we did a hurricane test in a lab. When these things are here, I mean, they're here.
Yeah. Oh, no, for sure.
Like, let me just pause it up and then stop the hurricane. Let me change my house. None of that's going to happen. You have to make sure that you're safe.
And every time it's going to be different. And so when talking about the winds and obviously how fast they come and things like that, what are, I guess, the approved ranges? I mean, you mentioned 65. I mean, how high does it go? Like, what are the standard points as far as a quality window and what it passed?
To the best of my knowledge on this one, because I'm not a structural engineer on here, to my understanding, it stops, not stops, but up to, which is zone 5, is about 90 PSF.
Okay.
I could be off by a few PSF. We could look it up.
Right.
But it's more or less there. Our products, we're looking at 100, 115 PSF.
Okay.
So we are way above.
Right. And that's what matters. I mean, these are things that the average homeowner, even builder, because when builders are building homes and they're doing all these things, they're also looking at their costs. They're buying from, maybe people that they're just used to buying from, rather than scrutinizing, okay, like what's going to happen to this home that I'm building that someone else is going to buy, and what does that look like in the materials that we're putting into it? Because we get into a lot of conversations on the podcast with all different types of people. There's construction grade, and then there's the grade that everybody wants. But they don't know the difference.
The homeowner typically doesn't. Most of the times, the developers do.
Right.
And you have very good developers all over.
Right.
All over. No matter where in the world. You have, the penny pinchers and the corner cutters, and you have the guy that's looking to give the best product and the best quality for a price range.
Right.
Because obviously everything adds up.
Right.
No matter what industry you're in. You can get a 1-cent pen, you can get $1,000 pen, you can get, 30-cent bottle of water, you can find expensive water. I mean,
right.
Price ranges and everything. So if you can find a product that'll cover your basic needs, you'll have a price.
Right.
But then you come into a product that'll cover everything that you're looking for. So you keep the sun out, you keep your AC controlled, you keep your family safe with this impact ratings. All of this will, come into play with who the contractor or developer is or installer. But yeah, there is a very big range there.
Right. So going through this, we've learned a lot about the mechanisms, the different components that go into these windows, these doors. We see so many crazy different, ways of opening, from pivot doors to bifold doors to, there's so many different mechanisms. What are you guys, like, what's next for you guys? Like, what are you working on as far as manufacturing? Because coming here to South Florida, we see some 12-foot doors, 9-foot doors, 10-foot doors, pivot doors. I mean, it just, one after another.
We've got some really, really cool things designed right now that we're coming into. We started extruding them already.
Okay.
So I think within the next few months, we should have a bigger range of products. And I mean, really, really cool things.
Are you allowed to give us a little hint?
I designed them, so yeah.
All right. Don't hold back.
No. So we're coming out with a garage door.
Okay.
We're going to be able to go up to 20 feet wide.
I feel like a lot of window manufacturers don't get into garage doors.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
Design, testing, all this stuff.
Right.
But we do manufacture them in Puerto Rico. They're not that hard to manufacture. They're expensive to make, but not hard to make.
Right.
The biggest expense there is mainly testing and hardware.
Right.
Because most garage doors, it's a sliding door or regular hinge door.
Going the other way.
Go sideways, just wider. But that does come with the complications.
Right.
Because when they're standing, that's one thing. Now you lift it over your head, you have deflection, you have gravity pulling against it.
Right.
So you have to make sure that all your hardware is right. That you don't have too much deflection.
Right.
There's all these things. And substructures. You have to make sure that the structure you're going to be attaching to works. So we've been working on the sliding on our garage door system, and we should be ready soon with it.
That's awesome.
We are coming up with a bifolding door.
Okay. Those are really popular today.
So yeah, they're super popular.
Yeah.
So I designed a sliding pocket door, bifold door, that you're going to be able to have a flush track. And in the event of a hurricane, there's an add track that comes to it.
Okay.
And you fix that to the floor with your track system there, so you don't have to add any more holes or anything. So I designed a track system that, one done right, you can plumb a drainage system to the bottom of it.
Okay.
Now that takes a little more on the planning side, depending on how far you want to go into your remodels or new construction. If planned properly, you can actually, do, so you got your track, and then attached to it, you have your drainage system that attaches to your house and drains out. So water comes in, down, and out.
Gotcha.
That's the best, that's the biggest thing.
Absolutely.
How do I get the water away from the house?
Right.
It's going to come no matter what you do.
Right.
So how do I get it away or keep it out? Okay. So we designed that, and it's actually,
is it going into testing now, or like where in the stage is it? So you've manufactured it, now it's going into testing to actually implement into. That's incredible. Yeah. So it sounds, from what you're saying, I don't know garage doors, but it sounds like it's different from the average garage door.
It's going to be different.
Yeah.
I won't give out the details.
It's going to change. It's going to change what
your house is going to look
like.
really cool with all the stuff you can do to it.
I like it.
Like you'll be able to customize this down to technology side. And
really?
Yeah.
Because that is, once you get it into integration and the technology and everything, things change.
Oh, it's going to be different.
Yeah.
That I can promise. It's going to be different.
That's awesome.
Because everyone's looking for that something that makes their house a little different.
Absolutely.
Same thing, the same way we pick our clothes out in the morning.
Right.
Same way you do a lot of things. You just want to look your style and you're different.
Absolutely. And that's what makes businesses different. It's how you do it, what you're designing, and obviously the care. Like, you want to sleep at night. As a manufacturer, you're having your product installed.
I enjoy sleeping at night.
Yeah, exactly. And doing the right thing and going through the process. But you're not just engineering something just to be able to create something to sell. You're engineering something to be able to change the way homes look, how we live in them, and really how they're protected.
I stand by my product 1,000,000%. Last night, I was at the shop till midnight, fixing, installing glass into a sash because we had a deadline to finish.
Right.
And you just got to do it, My dad had a saying, win, lose, or draw, finish it.
Right. Right.
No matter what it is. Always do good to the client, do good by the client, and make sure that what you say is what you do,
Right.
what the product can do. And I think that is something that has kept us above the industry
Right.
standard of how people look at the business. You know, you're going to see a lot of different companies, obviously, over the years, all this, you know, marketing and all these things. And at the end of it, it's not really a reputable company, you know?
Right. Absolutely.
The pictures look great.
Yeah. Anyone can have a nice picture or a nice website, but
what they're installing and the way they finish it and the way it works and the way they promise it works and operates, that's when, you know, the experience comes into play. That's
Absolutely.
where the new product designs come in, you know. We design products all the time, and it's expensive.
oh yeah.
But we know that every time we come into the design phase, we're making something better.
Right.
You know, we had a series of, we called it 325 series because it's 3¼ inch wide. That series we've changed 1, 2, 3 times now.
Okay.
Okay. Simple changes. So we change how the hinge sits on the frame. So how can we make it easier for our production? Make sure that each and every time we install it, it goes in the exact same place. The window operates the easiest. The way the glass snaps in. Okay.
Right.
The glass is a big thing. You know, the way your glass attaches to your frame. Because you can do wet glazing and dry glazing.
Okay.
2 separate animals.
That's a whole nother conversation. Yeah.
No, it is. And the way that you attach your glass inside there, because once it's impact, and it'll want to suck the glass out.
Right.
Like literally,
Right.
and pull it right through. So the way everything attaches, you know, we've been able to make it better each time. And one thing that we make a priority, at least for our company, is what do the installers say?
Right.
They're the guys installing this every day. You can train salespeople all over.
Right.
And you give them the right script with the right marketing, and they're going to walk into your house and,
Right.
This is me. This is what I can do. But having the right installers and doing good by your installer.
Right.
So you have to make sure that when you give your sales pitch, you also make sure that you know, or you explain to your clients, hey, this is how we install things. This is how we design products. You know, we design them to last. We design them to work. We design it to make it easy for installation, because that's another thing.
Right.
You know, having been installers, and I've been installing Windows for many years. You know, having the right design ultimately affects everything.
Yeah.
So when designing, you know, this garage door, how does it go together? How do you install it? How does this go? How does the bifolding door work?
Right.
How do you install it? You know, there's a whole design thought before just, hey, here's the product.
Right.
We're coming out with a new commercial series now.
Okay.
We're going to be able to do pieces of glass 7 feet by 12 feet tall. Sliding glass doors, we're going to be able to do 6-foot panels by 144.
Wow. And that, I mean, when you're looking at that, I mean, this is impressive sizes. I mean, you're in this market. I mean, and also in today's construction, I mean, everybody wants floor to ceiling windows. They want the big sliders. They want, you know, all of these different components that's adding the ultimate effect to what goes into whatever's being installed. And for you, you want your installers to enjoy installing your product as well, because there's some products out there that I'm sure are more difficult to install. And when they're going on a job site and they know, oh, we're installing this brand today or this product, whatever, they're not looking forward to it.
You hear, I mean, I've sat with installers that install different brands,
Right.
You know, and the feedback that you get back from each and every one of these guys is like, oh, I don't like XYZ company because of this, and that. I don't like this guy because of the hardware.
Right.
I don't like that guy because of the profiles or how you have to get the screw in. I mean, there's a whole thought process before you even get to the window, you know,
Right.
installing part, to make sure that your installer actually, you know, likes the product he's installing.
Right.
Because a happy installer will get you a really long way.
Oh, and they're going to push you in any new opportunities as well, because they know the process. They know what they're going to be getting to be able to install, and they know that whoever's buying it is getting a quality product.
And they know that when they go home at night, because you talk to most of them and most of these guys really care.
Right.
You know,
Right.
they know that when they go home at night, your family is going to be safe.
Right. Absolutely. Not just, we're not just talking hurricanes and things like that. Security purposes too.
Anything.
You know, I mean, you know, that's where
You
people
don't
enter a
want
home.
something falling on you.
Right. Exactly. That as well. 100%. So talking about installation, because we touched on this a lot. So obviously perfecting the process of the manufacturing to deliver the highest quality, and it's all based on, you know, price points, things like that. Every single series, you know, withstands what it is meant to, and the goals to surpass. But hiring a contractor, the ones who ultimately are the ones installing a product, like, what should people know to ask that contractor? Because there's a lot that goes in the installation. You mentioned nails earlier. There's bucks. There's all these different things that goes into it. And I've heard horror stories just talking to homeowners as far as drilling right into drywall and all these crazy things where you wouldn't know until there's a problem.
It happens all the time. So I would say one of the best ways to validate somebody, and sometimes it can, you know, it can be a double-edged sword.
Right.
But go online, you know. The guys that are doing horrible and that aren't doing the right thing,
Right.
you'll find them online.
Yeah.
You know, do your homework. Don't let this buy now pressure you.
Right.
You know, because they're not going to live in the house.
Right.
They're there for the commission.
It's a sale. Yeah.
It's a sale.
Right.
They don't like you because they don't know you.
Right.
So it's not, oh, you're my buddy, you know. You don't know that person.
Right.
It's like speed dating.
Yeah.
You know, you throw a rock, you'll find someone that'll sell you a window. The right company is somebody that understands what you need, not what they want to sell you.
Right.
You know, what is your needs? Okay, so you can make a list. I want a modern house with this type of aluminum profile, with this aesthetic, and you can add to your list, okay, this is a product that I can offer you. That's a sales guy that knows what he's doing.
Right.
But this guy that's like, oh, yeah, it's $10,000. If you close today, we can finance it for all these years.
Yeah.
And most times, those pressure companies, read on them.
Right.
They don't have the best rapport anywhere.
Because also you mentioned something, you know, what your list is for what you want. A lot of people don't know what they want because they don't know what is in the market or what they can select from.
Or what they need.
Right. And that's why the person who is in their home, that's looking at their home, that's talking to them, what their needs are, for them to be able to make recommendations, not just saying, oh, I'm looking to replace my windows. Okay, well, here's the price. You know, because there's a lot of different things that goes into it. You know, like we mentioned, the mechanisms, you know, the materials, everything, every single component to really give them what they want. And then there might be things or types of doors or whatever it might be that might cost more, that ultimately they're going to get the effect and what they're looking to achieve in the end. But if it's not brought to their attention, if you're not, it's not just selling, you know, because at the end of the day, people do business with people. If you're getting a window, you're going to get a window from one place or another, but knowing what you're getting and trusting the person that you're working with is most important.
So I've gone out and I've asked, you know, and I've always analyzed it in different ways. And I've asked people, how many times in your life do you change your windows and doors?
Right. Yeah.
Have you?
It's one time. Well, I did on my first house when I bought it because I remodeled it.
Your second house?
Yeah. No.
You bought a new house
I bought
with
it.
windows.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So a lot of times this process, you know, it's difficult, and it's more on an intimate level to an extent because it's a lot of money.
Right.
I'm working where you live. I'm trying to fix where your kids, you know, or whatever, you know, it's your space.
Right.
So it's your home, your apartment. On the B2B side, it's not that difficult.
Right.
Or it's not as complicated because there's no emotions attached to the sale.
Right.
You'll
it's
have
purely quality of product.
You'll have a professional come in, design it. You have another professional come in and recommend, because you have one that'll design, one that'll specify. So what do you have to do? You have to find the right company that complies with this.
Right.
When you come into the home remodeling side of business, that's where it's an emotional decision. It is your house, and it's an expensive, you know, investment. And you have to make sure that when you put your money up there, they're not going to steal it.
Right.
Because that happens all the time.
Absolutely. We hear those stories a lot. Yeah.
And it's horrible. I feel horrible because it's like, I wish I could do something, but,
Right.
I can't. This is the product and this is what it's worth. You try to help out as much as you can, but it is a very, time-consuming, expensive process.
Right.
So done the right way the first time is usually the best way to go.
Right.
And not the first guy that comes in and says and claims, he is, the inventor of the inventors, and he can do it in 3 weeks, and he has the best. And if you sign today, we'll even include a free oil change or
Right,
whatever
no
it is. I mean, they'll come up with any type of gimmick to get you to close on the deal, and usually those are the people you got to watch out for.
Right.
A good sales guy with the right product, he's confident.
Right.
He knows what he's selling you. He knows that once he goes in there and he tells you, this is the product I want for you, or we want together, because it's,
right. Absolutely.
I'm the professional, you're the homeowner, or vice versa. So my expertise weighs a lot.
Absolutely. That's why
trust
you're
me.
there.
And not me, but the professional itself.
Right.
Because there's con artists in every industry. But I've seen a lot in the window and door industry.
Right.
I've seen a lot of people, getting taken advantage of. So finding that right contractor or installer, key.
Right. Absolutely. So we've talked about all components from the manufacturing, how your business started, manufacturing, design, all the R&D, everything that goes into the process of building that perfect window. Working in the islands, expanding to South Florida, the installation process, what people should know, how to hire the contractor. I mean, there's so much that goes into the industry. You mentioned screws. So this is something that I wanted to touch on because it's one of those details that they wouldn't even think about it, because the material matters, where they're screwing them, what they're screwing into is a big factor. We don't necessarily have to go too deep into it, but I want to make sure that anyone that's listening to this who is looking to replace their windows, their doors, they understand that to ask this question, well, what are you using to fasten it to my home?
So that's pretty straightforward when it comes down to doing it. You have a test and an engineer recommendation, right?
Right.
They'll tell you what screw you have to use. There's a million different types. So most screws will be a screw that is, at least for South Florida and the Caribbean, is a screw that'll attach to concrete. So you need the right screw for concrete. What people can't see, which is where the inspectors come into play about screws, is the screw length.
Right.
Right, how far is it going in? How much is it really grabbing onto? Because when you look at a screw on the outside, all you see is the screw head.
Right.
All right. They all look the same, whether they're an inch or 18 inches.
Right.
Screw head's the same. So that screw is what holds everything in place, and that is a whole different animal.
Right.
You have flat head screws. All right. So that you have to countersink. Not every window manufacturer can countersink their screws because they have what is called a pull-through. So that means your window's there, it's installed, but when the pressure comes, it actually takes the screw and pulls it through the aluminum profile.
Gotcha.
So then you'll come into screws that have like a hex head, okay? So it's flat on the bottom. You don't have to countersink it. Those screws don't look as pretty when they're finished.
Right.
Because it sticks out. So then you have to have screw covers and all this type of stuff. So depending on the window, the manufacturer is the type of screw you're going to use, how it's going to work, and how it's going to perform.
Okay.
And look.
Absolutely. So those are things that people need to really pay attention to, because remodeling, owning a home, it can be stressful, but it's just doing your homework, knowing what's available in the market, hiring the right professionals.
Very true.
Yeah. No, and that's what it comes down to. And at the end of the day, people do business with people. So know who's going to be in your home, in your most private space, in most cases, your largest investment.
And you're only going to do it once in your lifetime.
Right.
I do it every day because I'm in the window and door industry.
Right.
I don't buy windows and doors every day.
Right. Exactly.
I sell them every day.
Right.
My house, once in my lifetime.
Right.
If I buy another house, okay, maybe I'll remodel and change out my windows.
Right.
But No, even me as a manufacturer, it's not like I'm going through my house and saying, "Oh, every 6 months, let me change my windows."
Right, exactly.
It ain't gonna happen.
No.
It's not like your car. It's like, oh yeah, every 4 or 5 years, you trade in your lease, you upgrade, you change, you do whatever.
Right.
You're not doing that with your windows and doors.
No, without a doubt. So I want to ask you, so as a company that's been in business for a long time, manufacturing, installing, seeing the industry throughout, coming to a new market. So we mentioned before, we've known each other for, just over a year now. What was your steps and your thought process as far as coming into the home show? Because that was really your first step into this market.
I remember the conversation when I had, and I'm like, "Hey, what is this home show in Miami?" And you're like, "Oh, we have this one in Fort Lauderdale. We have this one in Miami." I'm like, "Well, when's this one?" In 3 months. We still got space. I'm like, can it be done?
Actually, we didn't. It was actually a cancellation. Yeah.
And then, so you called back. You're like, someone canceled. Are you still game? I'm
right.
Like, no time like the present.
Right. You have to make a decision.
So, one thing that we did, and this I made sure, we don't install in Florida.
Right.
There are installers here that have the knowledge. They have the experience.
Right.
They have the teams. They have everything. We're good at manufacturing. Really good at manufacturing. We install in Puerto Rico.
Right.
That's it. Our installation services stop there. That's how my father started the business. So that's why it continues there. But we are in the manufacturing and export business for Florida.
Right.
So when we came here and we came to the first show, I didn't have any dealers set up.
Right.
And that was a big thing because you're not selling windows to homeowners a lot of times. You sell them to the dealer goes to the homeowner.
Right.
So for the second show, we switched it up a little. Third show, switched it up one more time. Fourth show comes in. Now we got a right dealer with us.
Right.
Now we understand, okay, this is how the process works. You need a qualified product, qualified installer to get the person what they're looking for and get them the product that they want to buy.
Right.
Your home show has been amazing for that. Because you have both sides of the, of the game. You have your homeowner looking to do their 1 or 2 windows. Homeowners looking to do their full house. Okay. But then you have the professionals.
Right.
Developers, the engineers, the installers. Our first dealer that came up to us that we're working with today, he came up and he said, "Hey, I am so-and-so." And at that first show, I think like 9 or 10 people came up to us looking to sell our products because we had stuff that no one else had. We still have products that no one else have. And that was a learning curve, because not every sales or not every dealer is the right person. They're not the right fit.
Absolutely.
We made sure that we found a company that understood what they were doing, were well versed in the material, didn't have a million people out there trying to sell. Right. We were looking for the right guy to help us guide us, to get us, through these learning curve, because there is a learning curve, even though it's the same product.
Right. New market. They need to know the market. I mean, it's important.
No matter what industry, new market.
Right.
You need to rethink everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's been amazing having, and also like I see a lot of products. I see a lot of different businesses. I see first of all, how you built your booth, which it is literally like a big Lego set. So I know that manufacturing, how to make things work, how to make it come together and efficiently and effectively, because you guys put together this incredible display pretty quickly. And I mean, it's amazing.
For us, it was record time. We built the whole thing, did custom painting on it. Everything. And had it here in 3 months.
It's beautiful.
From yes to set
fruition. Right.
In 3 months, coming from another country,
right?
Not country, but island.
But to your credit, when you talk about that you have products, yes, a window is a window in the sense of what the functionality is and what it's going to do, but you guys have different designs, different mechanisms. I mean, the shutter system is something that people need to see because, if somebody most shutters that you see on top of windows, you have this big bulky shutter or it's built into
soffit
or something like that.
Fixing it.
Exactly. This, you wouldn't even know it is a shutter system until you hit the button and it rolls down, and you don't even hear it on your phone. Exactly. Controlled from your phone.
There's an app for that.
So with everything that we covered today, is there anything that we haven't touched on, or anything that you want to educate the listeners on, or really bring to fruition as far as the window industry?
Do your homework. Do your homework and do your homework.
Yeah.
A lot of times,
Ask questions.
This shouldn't be this shouldn't be an impulse buy.
Right.
This should be something that you read about and you understand, that you do feel comfortable with the person you're doing, your business with, and that person either manufactures or sells the right product for you.
Right.
With our shutter system, a lot of people are like, why do you need a shutter if it's an impact glass?
Right.
Okay. Have you ever had a piece of glass break? Try to get someone else to fix it.
Oh yeah, of course.
If it's an older window manufacturer that disappeared, you can't get parts, so now you got to replace the whole door,
right,
the whole window, because a lot of times you can't reglaze it.
Yeah.
Okay, so these extra features that we offer on our shutter systems, security, because crime is up.
Yeah.
There's no other way of looking at it.
Absolutely.
Crime is up and house theft is up there. And yes, your impact glass works, but if your hardware doesn't, what doesn't matter. Worth?
Right.
I mean, I've seen some pretty ingenious kind of ways these guys are getting into houses, drilling through frames to pop locks open and different stuff like that. We've had houses where we've gotten the videos. We can't obviously use them for any promotional stuff because of the clients themselves, but they tried to break into this house. And you see the way these guys are just staring and staring. And once they realized there was no way of getting into the house,
turn around.
Which was luckily for this particular homeowner, they ended up going to the house next to it.
Wow. Because
it was easier to get into.
Right.
But they still did what they wanted to do, which was get in and take what's not theirs.
Right. Exactly.
But that deterrent was there. They looked at it, so they looked at his house, they looked at the neighbor's house, and were like, And you can see the guys, they're staring there, they're touching it, hitting it, they're like, there's nothing we can do about it, let's go to the next one.
Right.
And they ended up doing that. So having an open house, a lot of times, you got to make sure that your doors, because not all locks are the same,
right,
too. I have a deadbolt on my house. No.
Right.
You can pick a deadbolt pretty quick.
Right.
Adding security is something that is becoming more and more, necessary in certain areas. The other thing is the heat.
Yeah.
It's only getting warmer.
Oh, absolutely. That's not changing.
I don't know if you've stepped outside these last few weeks, but it's been hot.
It is.
Yesterday I felt like I was going to fry.
No, it's hot. With the weather, with everything. There's so many different climate components that affect the integrity of a product.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
It does. No matter what way you look at it, glass is still glass.
Right. Absolutely.
It's beautiful. You can make really strong glass, but there will be a point where it breaks.
Right. Okay? Absolutely.
And a broken piece of glass that can be avoided, why not?
Right.
Security, who doesn't want to feel secure inside their house?
Absolutely. Because that's what we're saying. You guys create the ultimate, hurricane, say proof, but,
bunker house.
Bunker house. Yeah. That somebody can possibly get. It's the ultimate hurricane protected home. Like it is to the maximum degree of security, safety, and, making your home sustain the elements.
And with that shutter system in mind and the exterior shutter systems, either residential or commercial, we are working with a company out of Europe right now, and we're finishing up some designs and some testing on a very, very, very interesting product that will be coming out maybe about a year from now.
Another window type product or something?
It's a shutter product,
system,
but it has to do with water management for flood zones.
Talking about that, I just was talking to a client the other day. They just opened up a brand new showroom, and literally before they were officially open, we got one of those really bad rainstorms and flooded the entire showroom, and they have to rebuild it.
So we're coming out now with a new slat system that is actually going to work for that. It's a deployable water barrier.
Right. See, that's incredible.
We have patents on it and all that other stuff. You know, the design is. So we're finishing.
There's a lot of places here that need that. Yeah.
Well, it's cool. There are systems that exist. You know, you have water barriers that exist.
Right.
They're big, heavy, and bulky. You know, you got to lift them up, get them into place, pump them with air, get them to seal.
Right.
With this, you're just going to
hit a button and that's it. So needless to say, you know, you guys are the hurricane experts. Like, you know the winds, you know how to sustain. You've been in the islands. You've been obviously in Puerto Rico. You're now here. You manufacture. You guys have installed. You know the breaking points. You know the wind loads. Everything that goes into it. So the information is invaluable. It really comes down to just hiring the right professional, someone who's knowledgeable, someone that's going to stand by their work. But for those who are listening, if they want to reach out to you guys or learn more about your products, what's the best way?
They can go onto our website, CondadoWindow.com. They can go Instagram, Facebook, Condado Window. They're going to be able to get inspired by all different types of houses, modern houses, rustic houses, farmhouses. I mean, we have a product pretty much designed for almost every type of architectural aspect. You know, so
that's awesome.
We can comply with whatever or match relatively almost any design that a homeowner is looking for to make sure that their house or project looks the way they want it to.
Absolutely. So I can't thank you enough for being here today. I mean, just the knowledge and experience, because you guys, I mean, you've been in it for a long time on all levels. And like I said before, it's invaluable, but it's so important. If you're a homeowner, if you're a builder, if you're an architect, doesn't matter who you are, knowing the products, understanding, knowing what questions to ask and what to look for when selecting the product and the professional, you know, that's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about, you know.
Yeah.
You got to make sure you got the right team.
That team is everything. You know, you're only as good as the people next to you.
Yep.
But for all of you, I want to thank you guys for listening to this podcast, tuning in. And for any of you that you don't know, so we are the Home Design and Remodeling Shows. We're Florida's premier destination for everything home design and home improvement. We have exhibitors that are from South Florida, from other states, international brands from all over the world, introducing and establishing their brands right here in our market. Visit the Home Design and Remodeling Shows in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and Palm Beach. You can always get all the information at homeshows.com. Make sure you follow us at FL Home Shows. But until next time, subscribe to our channel to get all of the latest in home design and home improvement and meet the top professionals available for your home. But until next time, stay tuned for the next episode.